My name is Erin Edge. I'm the Bear Aware Coordinator with Defenders of Wildlife. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about bear-human conflicts in the Missoula Valley, a little bit about the history, kind of what some of the stuff that's been going on to reduce these, some community partnerships, a little bit about the ordinances that are now in effect in Missoula, and we'll go into some things that can be done in the future to reduce conflict. So a little history. Missoula has always had bears. And Missoula is surrounded by very, very wild country. The rattlesnake is a very large wilderness. A couple of pictures in the upper portions of this slide are from the rattlesnake or viewing the rattlesnake. And as you can see below, what has happened is the valley, which was a very lush riparian river corridor, has slowly filled up with people and rapidly actually in the last few years. And so what we're seeing is a large increase in the number of attractants on the landscape. So while we've always had bears, bears are now running into more and more attractants such as garbage, bird feeders, and that kind of thing, which is leading to a rise in conflicts. Conflicts are occurring all over Missoula. This is not just a rattlesnake issue. The reason I bring this up is a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't live in the rattlesnake. I don't really need to worry about it. However, we have conflicts in Paddy Canyon, Grant Creek, all urban wildland fringes around Missoula, and sometimes internal Missoula. Conflicts are dangerous for both people and bears. As you can see in this black and white picture on the right-hand side, this one is actually a bear breaking into a chicken coop. Chickens are now allowed in the city limits of Missoula. And what we're seeing is a really rapid increase in the number of conflicts between bears and chickens. And bears, unfortunately, are trapped and removed and a lot of times euthanized for conflicts with chickens. So we're asking people to please electrify their chicken coops or use some type of a bear-resistant structure so bears can't get in. Bears are frequently trapped in Missoula and relocated. As you can see in this middle picture, that is East Missoula, and those are two kids coming upon a black bear just walking out from between trailers. Nobody wants that to happen. And another major problem, and a reason why a lot of people want to stop this issue, is just trash all over the place every day. So a lot of streets in the Rattlesnake, in Grant Creek, Lower Grant Creek, in other areas will look like this on a daily basis, and nobody wants to walk out in the morning to see that. They want a cleaner neighborhood. And then the other two pictures are rattlesnake bears. So, trying to stop the bleeding, what are some things that have been done? In 2004, there was a massive berry failure, which we had a huge spike in bear-human conflicts in the rattlesnake specifically. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks was receiving 30 to 40 phone calls a day for conflicts. And so neighbors got together and initiated the Rattlesnake Bear Task Force. And that task force started distributing information. They would call each other and let them know when bear conflicts were happening in an area. Soon after, Friends of Grant Creek began outreach efforts, and Paddy Canyon and West Riverside have both followed suit. So there are a lot of ongoing community outreach efforts happening. Grassroots, people just talking to their neighbors, people handing out flyers, and things are improving. However, there's still obviously a lot of problems. In 2005, City of Missoula began working on the wildlife feeding ordinance, which was a huge step. 2006 passed Ordinance 3330, making it illegal to feed wildlife except birds within city limits. This was something to be applauded for a city of this size. So it's a pretty exciting ordinance. We just have to make sure that everybody kind of knows about it. And then in 2010, the City of Missoula adopted Ordinance 3419 in a bear buffer zone for the City of Missoula. Again, unique for a city of this size, and we were very excited about it. Wildlife Feeding Ordinance 3330. Feeding of certain wildlife is prohibited, making it unlawful to feed, provide feed, or other attractants, excluding ornamental plants, vegetable gardens, and properly hung feeders to wildlife within city limits, authorizing animal control to enforce this. It's something to bring up here, properly hung feeders. That means bird feeders cannot be accessible to bears or other wildlife other than birds or squirrels. You can read more about this ordinance on the City of Missoula's website, or just Google search Wildlife Feeding Ordinance 3330 and it'll pop right up. Ordinance 3419. This is a garbage amended ordinance to provide special management of garbage in specific areas within the City of Missoula where there is conflict with bears. This is Missoula's bear buffer zone. And as you can see, as Fish, Wildlife, and Parks worked with the city to define these boundaries, and all of them pretty much pertain to areas that are adjacent to wildland or adjacent to creeks or gullies or some type of a water source. The entire rattlesnake is within the bear buffer zone. So everybody in the rattlesnake that's within city limits is under the ordinances. Most of Grant Creek, if not all of Grant Creek, and then some parts of East Missoula, Patty Canyon, Upper Patty Canyon. So as you can see, again, you can see this on the website. You can Google in Missoula's bear buffer zone. This is where the garbage ordinance pertains. And if you have any questions, you can also contact the city as well, or me. Okay, fed bear is a dead bear. Some frightening statistics. Over 30 black bears have been relocated from the Missoula Valley in the last 2 years. These are approximate numbers, could be higher. Approximately 10 to 15 black bears have been euthanized or died as a result of human-related mortalities. This does not include bears that have been hit by car, and those have been numerous as well. Unfortunately, these numbers are high. We are working on efforts to make sure that this doesn't have to happen in Missoula, and so that FWP can be freed up to do other jobs and to work on other issues elsewhere. This is a reality. Grizzlies are slowly coming this way. We have had grizzlies around Missoula, north of Missoula, but at some point it wouldn't surprise us to have grizzlies walk through the Rattlesnake Valley. And in Kalispell area, they do have grizzlies in neighborhoods quite frequently. And people seem to pay a little bit more attention when grizzlies are there. However, I think it's time to reduce attractants before grizzlies get there. And that's what we're working hard to do. Just to give you a little background, this is Scarhip in Tura. So very close to Missoula. This is Scarhip. This is believed to be the same bear. Not necessarily proof of that, but pretty sure. This is Scarhip in Seeley Lake, getting into the back of the truck. I don't think anybody wants to walk out in the morning to get in their car for work and see this grizzly in your truck. Unfortunately, this is Scarhip dead, mistakenly killed by a hunter. This is Rainy. Rainy is also a Seeley Lake bear. Rainy ended up getting into chickens and small livestock, garbage, bird feeders, ended up going to a lot of homes. This is Rainy now at a Tulsa zoo. This is her cub at a Tulsa zoo with her. Her other cub died, got hit by a car on the highway. This is Kyle. Kyle also ended up getting habituated around people's homes, was getting into things, so he had to be removed. This is Kyle now at a research center. So all three of these bears are in Missoula County. All three of these bears are removed from our population. So it's really, really unfortunate. Not only do we lose a little bit of what's wild about Montana when bears have to be relocated or euthanized, but we also have to take a little bit of responsibility for this. All of these bears, these situations were avoidable. We also, you have to think of human safety as well. Having a bear that habituated to be around people and being a grizzly is not a safe situation for humans or bears. All right, so some things that are being done, a little more on the positive side. MissoulaBears.org was started a few years ago, partnership with with agencies, NGOs, local citizens to try and get this up and running. A big thank you to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Missoula Bears, you can report bear and lion sightings. You can also report attractants, which is unique. And some people say, well, we don't want to, you just click on this button here on the web page. You do not want to report on your neighbors Well, actually, a lot of people have asked for that to be on there. It helps people anonymously report situations that they are concerned about. We've had some success with that. And then we also post bear and lion alerts on a frequent basis. We can get those up sometimes once a week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. It just depends on how active things are at the time. So you get updates for your area, report sightings, report attractants, and there is a ton of outreach information on there. All of the Missoula ordinances are on there. The bear buffer zone's on there. Some research papers that have been done about the rattlesnake are on there. Hunting and grizzly country information, how to secure your attractants, how to use electric fencing. So there's a lot of educational and outreach information on that website. What can you do? I probably take you forever to read this slide, but all this information again is on the Missoula Bears website. Basically, people and food. You don't want to leave food out at night. Barbecue grills should always be cleaned and secured in a storage shed or some secure location. Do not keep refrigerators and freezers outside. This is really, really important. I know we get a lot of people, especially this time of year with hunting season, will have meat in their freezers, and they'll say, oh, well, we threw a bungee on it, or we threw a lock on it. Doesn't work if a bear wants in a freezer for some meat. And remember, our bears here in Montana eat about 80% vegetation in their diet, so they really don't get a lot of protein. When they come upon a deer or a frozen freezer full of fish, they're going to take advantage of that opportunity. Keep all trash, aluminum cans, and recycling stored in a garage or shed. Put out trash the day of pickup. Take your garbage out only on the day of pickup. Best option for bird feeders is to not feed birds when bears are active March through November. And I know a lot of people really don't want to give up feeding their birds. A bird bath can work to attract a lot of different species of birds and also bird houses. However, if you must feed birds, then you can hang a bird feeder 10 feet up and 4 feet out from a trunk or pole. This is not going to guarantee a bear won't get into it. Some bears are very agile, and some bears can get into these bird feeders. Also, bird feeders are a site attractant. So a bird feeder just hanging at your house, even if it's empty, can draw a bear to your house or your porch. And in the Rattlesnake, Grant Creek, in some areas, Patty Canyon, we've seen this, where bears have gotten really used to eating out of bird feeders. They are exploring this and going up on porches for empty bird feeders. So please, if it's empty, remove it. Pet food, only feed your pet the amount it's going to take at one time. Do not leave pet food outside. It's irresistible for bears and other wildlife, raccoons, skunks, everything. Bring the bowls in at night. Livestock and poultry feeds. Make sure those are all secured, preferably with electric fencing or in a secure metal container that has a lockdown lid. Fruit trees. All right, so in the Missoula Valley, fruit trees are a major attractant for bears. The time of year that we see fruit starting to ripen, we'll see bears shunt into the valleys in larger numbers. And once they start feeding on the fruit, that's when they find the garbage. So fruit is the initial attractant. We really, really would prefer it if you picked all your fruit right as it becomes ripe, or as soon as it falls to the ground, make sure you pick it up as well. Or secure it with electric fencing. Electric fencing is really, really effective on fruit trees. If there's no other options, move this fruit away from your home or groomed area of your property. Vegetable and flower gardens. Electric fencing is really, really effective. Bears really don't typically go into gardens too much. However, we'll get them digging up root vegetables and things like that. Just don't ever use blood meal. That is an attractant. Compost piles are not recommended if they contain food scraps. So grass clippings, lawn clippings, that kind of thing we're not too worried about. However, kitchen scraps can draw a bear. If you do have a compost pile, there's one bear resistant composter on the market, but it's really expensive. You can use electric fencing around a compost pile. Vehicles, just don't store any food, groceries in your vehicle in open sight with open windows. Bears get trained up on vehicles. They don't initially think vehicles are an attractant. So if a bear has gotten a food reward in a vehicle, it is more likely to start breaking into cars. So just make sure you don't accidentally train a bear up by leaving a cooler with an open window in your car in the back seat. All right, help us get the word out. We have a lot of great volunteers right now. However, we are looking for more. Some things you can do are help distribute our educational door hangers. The Great Bear Foundation and Garden City Harvest, there's another group too that I don't have on here, are willing to glean fruit trees for no cost. You can contact these groups if you or someone you know needs assistance with picking the fruit off your fruit trees. You can also contact them if you want to volunteer to do this during fruit season. Talk to your neighborhood council members about bear conflicts in your area. This is another thing that we have a lot of people actively doing right now. So you could talk to your neighbors about current efforts that are already happening. But it's always good to talk to your council members about what is going on in your neighborhood and how they can assist you with reducing these conflicts. Coordinate with your neighbors about reducing attractants. So some things that some people have done in other areas, phone trees. So when you see a bear walking through your backyard and you're like, oh, maybe it's the first bear of the season, you call your neighbor calls somebody else. And that way everybody knows the bear's around. You can either pull in attractants you have out or just be alerted so that if somebody has little kids in the neighborhood, they can know that there's a bear around. The Bearware block parties are a new thing. So have a little educational day, block party on your street, maybe have some living with wildlife information. You could do kids events that are wildlife themed. Those are kind of fun. And then utilize social media, Facebook, Twitter. So a lot of people, instead of the phone trees, are doing Facebook or Twitter and twittering their neighbors, letting them know there's a bear in the area. Create a neighborhood wildlife volunteer who is in charge of alerting neighbors when issues are occurring. This is really popular. In some of the more rural communities, we've had a lot of success with this, where there's one street with, say, 10 houses on it, and one person on that street's their wildlife officer. And that person has educational information available for if somebody new moves into the area. And they also are in charge of starting the phone tree if a bear is getting into trouble in that area. They can also be that neighborhood's contact with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks over how to reduce attractants, over alerting Fish, Wildlife, and Parks to what's going on in their neighborhood. So the wildlife volunteer has been really successful in just opening communication between Fish, Wildlife, and Parks and the neighborhoods, also in just getting the neighborhoods to come together and do some grassroots organizing. All right, so our hope is to keep bears wild. We're always going to have bears in Missoula. We just hope they move through and don't stick around. My contact information is there. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me. 406-531-6007 is my phone number, and it's edge@defenders.org. You can also get a hold of me through the Missoula Bears website.